What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I feel like only in 2025 can a social media influencer commit a felony and get arrested for a felony charge involving a minor, yet somehow still monetize off of the charge. Insanity. And that is exactly what social media influencer Wheelchair Rapunzel is currently doing after people found out that she was charged with a felony involving a 13-year-old. Instead, now she's uploading her own explanation and monetizing off of it on all of her social media platforms. This social media influencer, who is most notably known for her chaotic approach to exposing her life, a lot of people know her mostly for being like a hot mess, constantly partying, doing just a lot of things that are not good for her or for anybody else watching. But in recent times, Wheelchair Rapunzel was actually arrested on a felony charge after she coerced into her apartment in order to get him to bathe her, put her in a bath, and put her to bed. And now she's monetizing it not only on TikTok, but on all of her social media platforms, including here on YouTube. So let's watch and see what this influencer has to say and listen to all of the excuses that this woman gives you as to why she is actually the victim and not the child. And then I'll give you some of the real facts and actual information of what happened. But let's just watch what Wheelchair Rapunzel has to say and the excuses that she gave. And get this, she still has people supporting her. Insane.
I have been thinking about how to make this video for over a month now. And I'm just gonna stop overthinking it and just be honest. And this isn't scripted, this isn't anything. I'm just making the video and I'm gonna be honest with you guys and transparent, and let's talk about it. So most of the internet knows by now that I was charged with a felony. There is so much to unpack with this entire situation. So buckle up, this might be a super long video. So after I moved back to Illinois to my parents' house from Florida, I got a call from Broward Police Department, and I thought it was something regarding, Noah's case or something like that. But they informed me that there was a warrant out for my arrest, and I started having like a full body panic attack. I asked them on what charge, and they told me lewd and lascivious, I believe that's how you say it. And I was like, oh, like, is that a misdemeanor? And they said, no, it's a felony. So I was freaking out, like genuinely so scared, didn't know what was going to happen. But I knew that, there was a warrant out for my arrest. So the incident that occurred that is in question was regarding an incident that happened back at my apartment in Fort Lauderdale in April. At the time, my mental health was terrible. I was drinking a lot to try and numb the pain of everything that was going on in my life, one of which was that my daughter wasn't in Florida at the time. She was in Illinois with my parents because of a lot of things that were going on with Noah. And being away from her broke my heart every single day. It was almost unbearable. Also, none of this is an excuse. I'm just trying to give you guys kind of like where my mind was at the time when all this happened.
No, it actually is an excuse. She's pretty much trying to already build the viewer's sympathy for her. She's trying to make sure that she was going through so much. She didn't have her daughter with her, which, mind you, even when her daughter was with her, she didn't really pay any attention to her. She was too worried about partying every single day to take care of her, not even getting her into the doctor. She did not even know her own daughter's pediatrician, if that tells you anything. And when she spoke on Noah, which is the child's father, so her baby daddy, during all of this time, Alex actually called the police on Noah in what many feel are just an attempt to get him in trouble because he wanted to pursue custody for their child. She ultimately ended up setting up a GoFundMe as a DV victim, and received, I don't know, thousands of dollars, probably close to $10,000, and took off to Chicago to be with her parents when this was going on. But a lot of people feel that she was actually trying to run and get out of the state of Florida because the police had already spoken to her multiple times about this incident regarding the 13-year-old. So people felt it was just too much of a coincidence, and she was actually trying to plot her escape, basically.
So during this time, I really did not have a good caregiving situation. Selena was getting married, so she was really busy with that. I had another caregiver, and she wasn't always available. So there were a lot of times that I would go without care, and with having my disease, that can be very stressful, not only mentally, but also, harmfully physically. And I just felt really hopeless at this time. It was hard to even get my basic needs met during this time. So I was drunk one night, came home to my apartment. I knew I wasn't going to have a caregiver to help me to bed that night. So I saw someone in my elevator in my building, and I asked them if they could help me. And they said yes. And obviously, we all know this is the incident where everyone's talking about the 13-year-old.
I think it's also important to note for a backstory is that this woman, Alex, does not go through any sort of professional caregiving agency. She actually outright refuses to do so, mostly because she hires people, random strangers with no caregiving experience at all, to care for her so she can have them get her alcohol. And not only that, she's bringing these random strangers that she hires off of Craigslist to care for her and her daughter. So they're taking care of a young child, a toddler who needs 24/7 care, as well as Alex who needs 24/7 care. And there is not one person that can handle both of that 24/7 like she needs. She does pretty well, but she doesn't actually invest it into caregiving. She wants to pay one person to take care of everything, including bathing, helping to the toilet, changing diapers, watching the baby, watching her, and helping run her social media for like $20 an hour. So that is why she goes without care so much, because she has these people, mostly they're young, sometimes early 20s, helping her and doing all of this stuff for her because they're not actual professionals. They are not going through an agency that has liabilities, because she wants to get around that. She wants people doing things that she knows are not actually allowed with any professional establishment, like not wear gloves when she's going to the bathroom, because apparently that's the thing that she does. She likes to stay naked 24/7 and, doesn't like to wear especially pants or underwear. So that's something that she likes to do. And I feel like a lot of people wouldn't be comfortable with that, especially any professional through an agency.
At the time, I did not know his age. I knew he was probably a teenager. But with being disabled, my intentions were purely caregiving. There was no motivation whatsoever. As being a disabled person that's 31 years old, I have had a lot of strangers help me, which obviously isn't the most safe thing, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do to get taken care of. And I realized this was a huge mistake on my part, and I wasn't really thinking about the repercussions it would have. The person, he was very kind to me, said he would help.
So, first of all, she's clearly trying to distance herself from calling him a child, because he was. And she said it herself, she figured he was a teenager. But in what world does a 13 look like an 18 or a 19-year-old? She was out and about town and coming home, and she didn't stop to think, hey, I could ask any one of these adults that clearly she has no issue asking strangers. But she waited until she was at her apartment complex and in an elevator alone with the. And not only that, she's leaving out a lot of important information about what she actually told them in order to get him into her apartment. But we'll get into some of that later.
And basically, at that point, I didn't have hair that day, so I was essentially sitting in pee. So I asked him to put me in a bathtub. So he did take off my dress, and he put me in the bathtub. I told this to the police. This is all public record as well. And to me, it wasn't weird because at the time, one, I was, and all I really wanted was to get pee off of me. And two, to me, caregiving is clinical. It isn't, inherently sexual. It's on the body. But obviously this was younger, and it was not a very good decision on my part, obviously. So he did not touch me or anything. He just took off my dress, put me in the bathtub, and I just sat there, like, let my body, like, kind of rinse off for a minute. And yeah, essentially he helped me do some stuff around the house a little bit, and I asked him to put me in my bed with my BiPAP on, and he did. He was very kind. At that point, his mom had been calling, and he wasn't really answering, so I was like, no, just answer. You could tell her my unit number, have her come down, and I just want to thank her for you helping me in this really, really hard time that I'm going through right now with the lack of care. At that point, I was already in my bed, and his mom did come down when I was in my bed, so I didn't even see her or anything in her face, but she just started yelling at me, and she was very, very upset. That is when the next day, the police showed up to my apartment, questioned me. I told them the truth. I told them everything. And at that point, it was very, very scary because I, was basically accused of being a predator. Everyone online, this is everywhere. This is on TikTok. This is on Facebook. Everyone's been posting about it. And I'm not a predator. Anyone that knows me in my real life knows I'm not a predator. Anyways, I think they don't even remember his name. That was it. And then, yeah, like I said, like 2 months ago, whatever, a month and a half, you guys know the timeline's better than me. I got a call about my warrant, flew to Florida with some good friends of mine that were so supportive, and I essentially had to go in to turn myself in to get arrested. To get rid of the warrant, you have to do that, and then get bonded out. So I went there to do that. Scariest thing in my life. I didn't end up going to jail or getting processed the traditional way because they weren't equipped to handle someone with my type of disability. Although my attorneys did kind of give them a lot of prior information about what my needs would be during this whole processing through the jail. But when I got there, they were not equipped or ready to handle that. So I ended up getting fingerprinted right in the courtroom. Yeah, this is already 7 minutes. Okay, this is part 2.
So before we go on to her part 2, which she included all in one on her YouTube, I advise you not to go watch it, which is why I'm showing you the video here, so you don't give her the views and let her profit off of her crime. But a few things. First of all, she says there was no touching involved. For her specific disability, she has SMA type 2, which is a very severe, progressive type of neuromuscular disease. So in order for her to be moved or anything to happen, she has to be picked up and cradled like a baby would, similar to like a child. When you're carrying a young child and you have them cradled, supporting the neck and stuff, that all has to be done to her. And he is having to pick her up. And when you do that, your hands are close to, where's your hands going to be? Around the neck, holding up here, and then down by their bottom. So there was definite touching. I don't know what she's talking about. And just because she doesn't view it as and she views it more clinical, he's still a child. Would you have a 13-year-old performing any kind of procedure on you just because it's clinical? No, it doesn't make sense. He isn't mentally equipped. He's not mature enough to be in a situation like that. But she forced him to do it because she knew that it would be easy to manipulate him. And she wants to sit and act like she encouraged him to answer his mom's phone. But doesn't that tell you something when the kid was afraid to answer his own mom's phone call? He knew he was in a situation that wasn't right. And he didn't know what to do. And people think, oh, my child would never do that. Yeah, a lot of your kids would. Especially for a woman. Yeah, they might be a little bit more hesitant towards men, but women can also be. And I think that's very, very important to remember. And talk to your kids. Don't ever go into somebody's house alone, ever. It doesn't matter what they look like. If they look like they can't hurt you, it doesn't matter because you could be exposed to things that will change you forever.
Talking about my felony charges. So after I hired my attorney, I was informed that I had to go to Florida to go to a surrender hearing. So that's where I would surrender myself. I would get processed through the jail, and then I would get bailed out. So I flew there. It was the scariest thing I ever did. I went into the courtroom to essentially surrender myself. And it was the most surreal experience of my entire life. Super humbling. Just a situation I never, ever want to find myself in ever again. It was really just like tremendously surreal. So like I said in my previous video, they were unable to process me and take me to the jail because of my disability. They asked me if I was able to get on my wheelchair, if I was able to get into a car. Obviously, I can't do any of those things, which they were aware of. So I was fingerprinted in the courtroom. And essentially, when I went in the courtroom, there was my attorneys and then the prosecutor going back and forth with officers in the courtroom. And, like, I'm just sitting there with my two friends, just, like, shaking in my boots, literally shitting my pants. My attorneys had told me that to go to jail, there was going to be someone there with me the entire time if I needed anything. Obviously, I'm assuming they would be under a ton of liability if anything medically were to happen to me, if I was in custody. So that was the plan. So finally they called my docket and the judge was in there, and the judge he was an incredible man. Obviously I sat in the courtroom for probably over a dozen other.
So she's literally talking about how the game plan was to go into court. Hopefully she wouldn't have to go to jail, but they're 100% going to let that jail know that this is going to be a huge liability if anything happens to her medically. I'm sure they really amped it up of all her needs and what she can and can't do, making it look like it's going to have to be some huge ordeal when she's clearly fine going to clubs and partying. Even 1 week after she gave birth, she was out partying and while her baby was in the NICU. But they're going to play it up, and she says it right there, that they're going to let them know that it's a huge legal liability to kind of scare them into thinking that they can't possibly care for her in the jail or hold her accountable. And that's what people that have known her have said about her, is that she thinks she is actually above the law because she is disabled.
Cases before mine got called. And like I said, it was just incredibly humbling and surreal to be in that type of presence and atmosphere. So anyways, basically the officers, my attorney, and then prosecutor going all back and forth in the courtroom, discussing kind of what they're going to do with me, since it seems like they're unable to take me to jail. Honestly, I think everyone in that courtroom, when they found out I was the defendant, because I was sitting in the back of the courtroom, because that's like where there was a space for my wheelchair, I think when everyone in there found out that I was the defendant, everyone was like, what in the hell is this woman doing here? So then finally my docket got called, and I was having like a panic attack. I was shaking, and Selena was rubbing my back, and I was having a panic attack. And just to hear your name called by a judge and like case number on felony charges, super, super, super intimidating and scary. Essentially, because of all the issues they were having with me going to the jail, the entire time they were talking about my case, it was sidebarred between the judge, my attorney, and the prosecutor. So I couldn't really hear everything that was said at all. I actually couldn't hear anything that they were saying. But that's when my attorney came over after they were done for about, like, it seemed like a lifetime that they were talking. And my attorney finally came and said, you're not going to jail today. They just don't have the resources to be able to do that. So they're just going to fingerprint you. So they only were able to fingerprint my left hand, because my right hand, like, is very, very disabled. And I told them my friend could help me, like, fingerprint my right hand, but they were like, no. And that's when a plea deal was brought up and introduced right then. My attorney said it looks like, they're going to be offering a plea deal. and she gave me a gist of what it might look like. And at this point, I'm just like, I feel like I'm out of my body. It was like an out of body experience. I was like, I don't know what to do. Is this the right thing to do? She told me it looks like they're gonna give me a plea deal of a misdemeanor. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I just took the advice of my attorneys. And yeah, the judge ordered that I was to be released in my archivisance, and that my next hearing, I could attend on Zoom, which was the next hearing, which was maybe like a week ago, was for my plea. And so my plea was set into motion, and accepted by the judge, and I attended that hearing on Zoom. And so I officially was charged with a misdemeanor, and I'm currently on probation. I definitely made a huge mistake, and I learned a lot from this entire experience, and I just hope that, throughout this, I learned something I can grow to be a better human being. And ta-da! I know that me making these videos, there's going to be people in my comments, like there has been for the past months and months since even this incident came out online, before any of my arrests or charges or anything. So I'm just not really expecting anything too much to come of these videos. Just wanted to kind of put my voice to the narrative, I guess. And yeah, I'm just gonna try and do better and learn and grow, and just try keeping the best mom I can for my daughter.
So I'm not gonna lie, I feel like if you're 31 years old, you have been alive for 31 years, and you don't know that you should not ask a child to enter into your home and help you take off your clothes and bathe you and do all of these sort of intimate things. You don't know that's wrong yet. So you're trying to learn and grow as if that isn't just a given, that you don't do that. And then to literally post this online talking about, I just want to learn and grow, as if she just accidentally said something that hurt somebody's feelings, and then monetize it on TikTok, on YouTube. That is actually insane to me.
This did not age well. Having a disability. One, I never have to wipe my own ever. Two, I never have to do the dishes. Ever. I never have to do dishes. My hands are as soft as a baby's sponge. Number three, I'm basically above the law, because how are they going to put me in jail? They can't. I'm basically above the law. I can do anything I want. Some people... The police were just here, and apparently someone online is trying to get me arrested or something. For indecent exposure, because I posted a photo yesterday of me and Ari on the driveway, and I was wearing a towel on my chair. You couldn't even see anything. You could see more at the beach. And the fact that I keep getting harassed like this is so awful, and it's not fair, and I don't know what I need to do to make it stop.
But let's look at what the actual records and the actual documents say, so we can understand what he was thinking, because she's trying to allude that he just was totally aware of what was going to happen before he entered her home, and that is not the case at all. According to the actual records submitted by police officers that investigated the incident, you can go look these up online if you want to double check or fact check me, but these are legitimate records, and I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to go through some of the more important parts about what the victim had to say about the incident. So it says, I spoke with redacted. It should be noted that he was alone and his mother was not within earshot of the conversation. He explained that he got home around 7:30 and he made his way to the elevator. While there, Demoskowitz, also known as Alex Dacy or Wheelchair Rapunzel, entered the elevator. She began making small talk, asking what Florida public school system was like and how old he was. He responded and was then asked if he would be able to assist her getting into the apartment. Alex asked if he could assist her in taking a bath. The child found the request to be rather unusual, but asked himself, WWJD, what would Jesus do? With minor hesitation, he helped undress her and helped her into the tub. While there, he advised that he did not look as it would be disrespectful, but Alex made another unusual request as she asked if he could go get her a beer. Confused by the request, as he told her that he went down to Velvet and asked, and they obviously did not give him the alcohol. When he went back up, he then helped her out of the tub and proceeded to help her dress for bed, at which point his mother was knocking at the door demanding that he go back home and that this woman should be ashamed as she asked a mother to do these things. And spoke to Alex, who advised that she did not mean any harm to the or his mother. She stated that she has a lot of issues obtaining a state nurse who works around the clock. She advised that her roommate is usually there to help, but with her roommate's new engagement, she is almost never home. She stated that she saw this opportunity to have someone help her get to bed, so she took the chance and asked for help, and that she was intoxicated at the time, and she stated that she had just came home from the wharf. She mentioned that her judgment should have been a lot better, but she just needed someone to assist her with getting to bed. When questioned about the purchase of the, she stated that she asked if he could use the Uber app to get them for her, and specifically her, but when the delivery arrived, it was ginger beer. Due to the nature of the incident, the SVU detective was notified regarding the matter. When the elevator opened, she asked him if he could help her with something. He stated that he had an internal dialogue thought of, it's a person in a wheelchair, and told her, sure. He thought she needed help carrying a case of water or something. He followed her to the apartment. When inside, he stood outside and asked if she needed help inside. And she responded, yeah. They went into the apartment and she led him to her kitchen island and asked him to help her put her ID card and phone on the kitchen island. These items were on her lap, so he complied and then asked her if that was all. He looked to be uncomfortable during the interview and then proceeded to describe that Alex then asked him to help put her in the bathtub, right, for $20, right? He described that he wanted money to buy something but didn't think that she would need to be naked. After approximately 15 minutes, she decided it was taking too long and asked him to help her take a bath. She asked him to help her take her clothes off. He explained that he thought to himself, I guess it makes sense, but I didn't know I would have to do that. I asked if he took her clothes off or if she took her own clothes off. He stated that she couldn't take her own clothes off. He added that he was trying to be mature and just get it done. He described that he took a long shirt off of Alex, almost like a dress that was covering her whole body. He added that she did not have any other pieces of clothing on. He took the long shirt off. I asked what he could see, and he responded her chest. He stated that he couldn't see any other parts of her body. However, she was in fact completely naked. The victim described that Alex instructed him to grab under her legs and behind her back like a baby and place her in the bath. He thought that he would be able to leave after that, but then she asked him to go downstairs to the taco place that was attached to their building. He later stated that it was called Red Velvet. He explained that he knew they wouldn't sell it to him, but he didn't want to go outside of the apartment and come back inside and lie that he tried. So he went downstairs and attempted to buy them for her. They obviously didn't sell him any, so he returned to the apartment. When he went back into the apartment, he asked Alex if she needed him to take her out of the bathtub, to which she said yes. So he then began asking when she would be done. During this time, she tracked her Uber Eats order to see when it would be delivered. I asked if he assisted Alex in just washing, and he responded no. He added that she just kept asking him to make the water hotter. After she was done with the bath, he placed a towel on her wheelchair and then picked her up out of the tub in the same manner that he put her in and placed her back on her wheelchair. He gave her another towel to put on herself to cover up since she did not use the towel and remained with him. He stated that his mom continued calling him, so he finally told her where he was. His mom came to the apartment and told Alex that he couldn't be anywhere without telling her, and his mother then returned to their home. During this interview, Blank described that the woman told him that she was in her 30s and her name was Alex. He had never met her before and did not know who she was prior to the incident. When asked if he could tell why she was in a wheelchair, he described that her arms and legs were really small and that her arms were, quote, which he demonstrated by pulling towards his body in a bent manner. He reiterated that Alex during the incident and never attempted to get dressed. At no point did she ask him to provide her with clothing to redress herself or ask him to help get her dressed. At the end of our interview, I asked blank if he knew what Alex did for a living. He stated that he learned that she does only because his mother told him. At the conclusion of the interview, he stated that he believed Alex was really wrong because she took advantage of his sympathy. He added that she could have asked anyone in the building, but it had to be. When asked what he thought should be done about the situation, he stated that she thought she should be kicked out of the building and has to stay away like 6 feet from maybe. She didn't know how old he really was. Alex stated that he helped her go to bed and she offered to pay him but never got contact information. So meaning she intended to get his phone number so she could pay him, probably so she could continue to use him and get her into the apartment should she need help. He recalled the mother calling a lot and freaking out, so she told him to tell his mother her apartment number so she could see that he was helping her get into bed. Alex stated that she was already in bed by the time the mother came, but she was angry and said that he was only. She asked Officer Gabriel if she was in trouble and added that the incident was a caregiving type situation. A short time later, Officer Gabriel and Detective Campbell returned to Alex's apartment and spoke with her again. Officers asked if the helped her into the bathtub, to which she responded, yeah. When Detective Campbell asked her why she didn't mention that earlier, Alex responded, I don't know, just like weird. I didn't want to get in trouble because I thought that he was, you know what I mean? So I'm like. Detective Campbell then asked when she found out how old he was, and she claimed that she didn't know his age until his mother told her. Alex began asking if she was in trouble again. The officers asked how she would feel if it was her daughter instead of the victim. She acknowledged that it was inappropriate, which she pled guilty to contributing to the delinquency or dependency of a minor, and she was sentenced to probation. She was no longer allowed to have any contact with without adult supervision, no contact directly or indirectly with the victims or the victim's family. Clearly, she is benefiting off of the lack of resources available at the jail. She quite literally just got away with a slap on the wrist because of her disability, and this is something that she has always said. She has always been one to kind of brag about being attracted to younger looking guys. There is evidence that supports that she posted herself. This individual has had a very long problematic history, but I want to know what you guys think about this. What do you think about her getting away with it? I feel like if it was any other male or any other situation, disabled or not, they would be in jail and they would be in huge trouble, at least on the registry at minimum. But because she is a disabled female, she was able to get away with it. I want to know your thoughts, so drop them down below in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.